Oh my
Peter
God.
Parker Spider-Man.
My boyfriend just made me watch Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I
Shall not.
Did you Doth you
For the
like
first time?
for the first time.
Did you watch it? Drunk?
Kind of.
It's 3 hours long. No, 9
Yeah.
hours, 10 hours.
Sober for
Yeah,
part of
What's
it.
They're
what's
like-
your favorite part? What's your favorite part when you're under the influence? When you're
Any of the fight scenes,
really
the like exciting like shit.
my favorite part is the first hour when I'm
Will say that throughout the entire trilogy, we just kept looking at each other and going, "Oh, there's definitely a fanfic about that." So
all the loves or like the gay erotic stuff or
so much gay erotic.
oh.
Notice
movie.
more of it
Cheesy.
once you're exposed to the internet, because I haven't watched it in a long time.
I'd like to say that they're just very good friends and they
Sure, there's a fanfic for that though. Go on Wattpad, and I'm sure of it.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of whatever this show is called. I forgot because I was
Ex-Cals.
very disturbed. Excals, the Excaliburs, the Ex-Californians.
Frodo couldn't have
There's a
done it without
fanfic for
his
that.
Sam.
Oh my God, why is Lord of the Rings so sexual when there's not a single sex scene in the entire thing?
It's so
It's so sexual.
The elves, they just look like they want it. No, okay, fine. Moving on.
Hi, I'm Tyler.
Hi, I'm Brooke.
I'm
I'm
Joe
Oscar.
Rogan. Oh shit, I'm Tom.
Je m'appelle Oscar.
Oh, ooh, d'enchanté, Ricky Bobby.
I don't have another language to say my
We are
name.
doing a French accent, okay? I am Thomas.
That was very Italian, Mario. Calm down.
It was a little bit, yeah. You do your English voice.
And we're blocked. We're blocked.
Do an English
All
wizard
right,
Nintendo-
guys,
voice.
we're going to end our
Nintendo
podcast
just
right
said
here.
this-
Everybody,
this.
go ahead and say your name after the beep. All right, I'm Thomas.
I'm Oscar.
Hello, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brooke.
No, not British enough. You got to get a little higher. You got to spine
I'm
in
not-
there.
Are
Got
we
to
doing
accent.
British? Are we doing British? You want to be British for this one?
Oh yeah,
Let's be British.
Yes, swarmy.
Indubitably.
Yo, bottle waddle.
I'm Bilbo Baggins.
And we're blocked.
The algorithm doesn't matter anymore. They don't show dislikes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
True.
dislike. See what I care. Ha.
Who won't hurt my feelings?
Just report us for hate speech of the Atlantis people.
Samoans. You
We're
wrote.
still alive.
So,
We live in Georgia.
Nice.
Starting the show.
Oh, did you
Why
see
not?
the trailer for the last Jurassic Park?
I did.
Oh, it looks really good.
Well, on the topic of Jurassic Park and claiming land
yeah.
for your dinosaurs, first you have to claim land for your micronation. So let's start off today talking about a little something I like to call claimed versus unclaimed. Let us start it off right now. Let me change my voice so that this transition works better.
To my knowledge, there are 3 places I know with unclaimed land. First off is Bir Tawil, a 30-mile by 60-mile piece of uninhabitable, whatever that means, desert situated between Egypt and Sudan. The reason this is unclaimed is because there are 2 different treaties out there that dictate their borders. One where Egypt has a straight southern border, and another where it gets Bir Tawil and a large section of their eastern coastline goes to Sudan. Well, the reason we're where we are today is because both want the coastline because it's oil rich, it's bigger, and coast tiles yield more than desert tiles in civilizations 1 through 6.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, given that both claim the coast, neither can claim the Bir Tawil region. Think about if we claim it though, guys. We could create a little dune civilization, maybe breed and release some of those giant sandworms.
The
Habitable,
question
though.
would be, why is it unclaimed? You said it was in a shitty part of the desert. It's because it's uninhabitable.
What? No, it's not uninhabitable. I mean, human beings can live anywhere. Their lives are just gonna really suck.
This is true.
All right, serious face. The second piece of unclaimed land is the western quarter of Antarctica called Byrd Land. We've talked about Antarctica as an option for a while now, pre-podcast, but long story short, it's cold but otherwise still usable, especially after we melt those glaciers.
My God.
Or, alternative pitch, we would save the glaciers, and we'll use that as a rallying cry to get recognized. The last region, to my knowledge, is a 7-kilometer or 3-mile square region between Croatia and Serbia that neither can claim without surrendering claim to other more desirable regions. Reason this unclaimed region exists is because Serbia only claims east of a given river, and Croatia claims all of the region west of the river that existed 200 years prior before the Austria-Hungary government straightened the river to make it easier to ship their opera singers and failed wars through.
But it's a possibility. And then every other place that could be possibly claimed is in the ocean, which I know on the whole, you're like, there's no land there. Human being need land. I am not Atlantean. I cannot do that. But I have some proposals I wanted to throw your way. Number one, I want to watch this video and get your feedback on it. This is called a seastead.
For those that are listening, I highly recommend you watch the last 6 minutes of the TED Talk titled Floating Cities, the Lego House, and Other Architectural Forms of the Future by Bjarke Ingels. To summarize though, seasteads or seasteadings are alternatives to islands where a typical concrete structure is made in a way that fully supports a sustainable ecosystem in just a few hundred meters squared. For energy, they harness the energy of the waves and tides. They have wind turbines, solar panels, heat exchange from other machinery, and algae bioreactors. For water, they collect all the rainwater they possibly can, desalinate the seawater, they have dehumidifiers, as well as atmospheric water collection. For food, they have aquaponics, hydroponics, traditional farming, vertical indoor farming, and giant suspended ocean farms hanging underneath the seastead. To top things off, they also would have reef systems built on the ocean floor below to attract fish to make fishing easier, and also to give back to Mother Earth. All of this is done in little hexagonal pods that can connect together as the population grows. Everything is used, nothing is wasted. Bamboo is even grown to replace any wood that might be needed while at sea, and depending on the end design, the whole thing may be able to move if it really needed to relocate. Okay, so what are your guys' thoughts now about all these different unclaimed land opportunities? Or perhaps seasteads? Seasteads?
I mean, that's really cool.
I love that.
I've seen that one before, and I think that as they progress with the technology, that's definitely a hugely sustainable way to go about.
Could you guys turn up your volume a little bit? Or can you guys get a little closer? Your volume started to dip out. Try talking again.
I said it's a good idea once the technology is kind of developed for it, but up until that time, you know, however long it's going to take, it remains just like speculative.
Okay. So your main problem here would probably be cost.
Essentially, yeah. You have to think about, you know, are you going to invest in the technology in order to get it there faster? Or, yeah, cost is a huge thought process on that, because I feel like, yeah, it would be sustainable once it's up and running, but up until that point.
Do you think it could function as a foreign government, or do you think it would get invaded like the South China Sea, where they just say, we want this, this is ours. All right, we're expanding our
historical claim.
Yeah.
That goes back to how much of a threat you apparently pose.
Or like how you go about starting it and when. Like are you using that as your platform for a micronation after many have been developed and there are lots already out there? Does that make sense?
It wouldn't be a micronation at that. Well, okay, you're a micronation until proven recognized as a country, but you'd be in an unclaimed area. You're not making anyone mad unless you're just like flipping off all the other countries near you. Take that, Samoa. I don't know. They're one of us. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying that. I love you, Samoa. Thank you for our football players. I'm kidding. I love you, Samoa. Thank you for the rock. And others to come. I'm kidding. We'll bleep this out.
Yeah, we haven't posted this. We're already.
Yeah, maybe.
We're banned. Perma banned. Didn't even get started.
Banned before you started. Yeah.
3 strikes.
3 strikes, 1 video. Damn.
I'm done.
I think the tough part about starting something like that, it's the same question as like who would go into Mars to start a colony. It's like how do you get people to go there? Not necessarily. How do you get people to go there and contribute? Because all of their
this
work
is for America, and you brainwash them into thinking this is the only way we can save society. Just like yoga people, you tell them this is the only way you can clear your mind of negative energy is to do these poses and buy these candles and sage yourself and do this dance and eat cacao and do this pose and then do that pose and then
and also if you
a lot of personal bias. Just kidding.
If you're trying to grow it as well, like I would think that the people that are living there, they work for the island. All of their work output goes towards making that better. They're not doing stuff on the side. They're not doing like, they don't have jobs outside of it where like your work output goes outside. Like
so it would work if it's a communist libertarian society.
No, I'm just saying like I think the one way that it would be, not the one way, but one of the ways that it would be feasible is if the people moving there are moving from a shitty situation.
Third world people.
Maybe like in the Balkan states, maybe there's a lot of war and they're like, let's get out of here. Let's just enjoy our lives. Let's just, build stuff for each other.
I'm not gonna, work it for, I don't know, Apple, and then like also be like doing stuff to help make that island work.
Exactly. Maybe you're working on the systems for it, but when I saw all the clips, I was thinking, okay, who's gonna be doing all the farming? Who's gonna be running the hydroponics place, right? And are they gonna be there full time, or are they gonna be there just an hour out of the week? Like, who is living there, right?
Robots, immigrants. We don't want to work. What are you talking about?
That's another good question, though, because realistically, what's the social status of those people going to be? You need to know a lot more to work on the hydroponics.
Yep.
For all elementary school teachers.
Well, and also, how do they get paid, right? Because I think the issue right now is a lot of people, like, they're just doing it for the money. Like, whatever they're doing, it's because they want to afford more. Not everybody, but a lot of the mentality here in the US, it's that social status. They want to be able to afford this. They want to be able to afford that. They want to have this nice house, whatever. Not everybody, but I think the mentality would have to change for the people living there.
I can't eat if I don't go to work this week. So how does that work if we're setting something up in a what was it called?
Seastead.
Yeah.
Seastead.
How does that work if we're setting something up in a seastead, but Joe Schmo, who started the Seasteads, started that, has no money to pay me to work on the farm?
Well, what is money at that point? What is money?
What would you afford at that point?
How are you guaranteeing that I am eating and having dinner and like my kids have someone to watch them while I'm doing this work for you, which is all fine as long as I have a roof over my head and food to feed everybody.
You would either have to go into it having like a food resource, and then like if let's say you had a food stockpile, or maybe you have like a contract to get food in there. The people that are there first, they're the construction workers. They're building the homes or whatever, and then after that, then you bring in the farmers. Then they start working these farms and stuff. It would be complex, I think.
Even saying who's going to enforce this. So-and-so doesn't go to work for 2 weeks. He works on the farm. We lost one of our little square plots. What do we do? Who's enforcing? Like, first of all, what's the reward? What am I being given if I decide to do whatever aspect of work I'm asked to do? Right? That in itself is the first thing. The second thing is, who's there to enforce it?
Well, that's why it would definitely need to be a government. It couldn't probably function as like a offset of Cuba or the United States, because who's the governor? Walk the plank.
Like, who's starting that, and then what are you providing the people that you get to come?
Or the other way around, how much are they paying to not work to have all their needs met?
I think
you just treat it like a permanent cruise. You just have, it's like a permanent retreat. You just have native Hawaiians go in there.
People who are,
they spit in the food. It's all right. It's all fine.
So if we're talking of like utopia, ideally the people living there and working there, that's all they know. Like they wouldn't have access to Instagram and all that stuff. They wouldn't learn the culture of everyone else because they're thinking those questions like, what's my social status? What am I getting in return for this and that, you know? Whereas like if you have a new culture there, it's the same question as like the Mars colony, right? Like, although I guess the Mars colony might be more feasible in a sense because if you don't work, help is 9 months away, you know? Whereas here, maybe they can escape and go onto land.
Yeah,
So,
or Amelia Earhart might come in from underneath the ocean as a zombie mermaid ghost and tell you something.
Don't give our blockbuster away. On
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Megatron? Who else is coming from the sea? Didn't they throw Bin Laden down there? Is he like Megatron, like tied up to like an anchor next to the Titanic?
Was he that dangerous?
I don't know. They just were like Megatron. Yeah, we'll throw him down there with Megatron so they can hang out.
Okay, Thomas, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because you're not really giving clear answers, and I don't know if you're doing that because you want to keep asking your questions and if this is coming up, but like, how are you starting your C?
What's your input? Can you give us your?
Yeah, sure. I think that they're viable, expensive, but it's all. My main questions are more like location. It's not really about the money. I do agree that it's a technology thing. We wouldn't be the first. There's that Dutch company that's really trying to make it, profitable and get it up the ground. Their estimates are like $200 million. And there's other companies saying they can do it for $93 million to have a 6-pod, like you saw. I don't really see the labor being a problem. I think maybe it's just me. I like doing half of those things, or I'd be down to do half of those things. Your IQ doesn't need to be that crazy to harvest bamboo.
About ensuring that, like, if I don't mind doing those jobs, the job's not the problem. But if I'm doing that and that's what I'm doing, and so like having knowledge of right now, I work a 9 to 5, whatever, and I know that that provides me with what I need to live. How are you ensuring that me harvesting the bamboo, whatever, right, I don't need a high IQ for it, but I do need to make sure that I have food if you're working me.
Well, that's why it needs a huge project plan. Obviously they have crabs underneath. They're building they're building their own reef systems underneath. They have fish. They still have imports and exports. They still have the same way that tourists would still come. They still have a way to come in and out. They're having lots of crops, and we know that the average human needs 10,000 square feet of plants or food, square feet of crops per year per person. And that's why they have to mix that with a lot of, meat from the fish, very pescatarian diet. There isn't enough space for a lot of cows and sheep and pigs, but you can import that stuff if you need to. Obviously no place on earth can grow anywhere else unless they're a biodiverse country, which there's only like 20% of the countries are considered biodiverse. So everybody has to import something. We're not trying to be like mercantilism and make it so we don't export anything. We only use it internally. We obviously could, but even countries like North Korea can't even feed themselves, and they're a big country.
So there would have to be like a currency then for those homesteads.
Well, capitalism is a system that I feel hasn't failed. Okay, don't get mad. Oh my God, the comments are blowing up. No. And some other people in this chat are blowing up. No, it's okay. There are some negative parts about it. It's not as fair as it could be, but it is a system that has never failed or led to starvation of the masses. Certain people go a little more hungry than others, but you can get back on it.
If there's diabetes and heart disease in poor people, we're good. Fine.
Yeah, I like that. Does that kind of answer your question, Brooke?
No.
My opinion? No. I feel like location's a bigger problem. You gotta go someplace where there's some big swells. It has to be more than 8 to 200 miles away from the nearest other country, so that you're not competing with their boundary wall. I'm thinking Aleutian Islands, but that's really cold.
Remember that National Geographic documentary we watched about those islands off of New Zealand, and they are
Oh,
like 800 kilometers away.
That's Skull
But it would be
Island. You don't want
interesting-
Skull
I know,
Island. That's
but
where King Kong lives.
But it would be interesting to like look into how they manage being that far away. They are their own nation.
Well, it's culture. That's all they know. Like once you get exposed to like there's like
Oh,
like-
it's like it what's the word? If they're like in the future, I don't know how else to say that. My brain's shutting down.
They use modern technology.
Yeah, they're like it's called the Pitcairn.
Are they breaking the coconuts with their iPhones? What are you saying?
No,
Oh.
it's an archipelago, and like the original settlers were from like a shipwreck or
oh
something crazy. And my thought was like, you're talking about it having to be. Oh, I had a thought and it's totally gone.
That's okay. Essentially,
I had a
essentially
point.
what it comes down to is she's trying, like, there would obviously be ways for you to still be in contact with whatever mainland
No.
is
That's
closest.
not
Like,
what I was
that's
worried
not-
about. That Thomas was making the point of like it has to be so far away from a landmass to not be considered part of that. Like,
Claim.
yeah,
But I'm sure there's some kind of international law stating as long as you're this far away from
it's
wherever.
international sea. Yeah, it's international
Yeah,
sea.
No,
and
my
it's-
that's why
point-
I'm saying it's unclaimed.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that was my biggest thing about Seasteads is it would have to be far away. You'd have to pick a location. It's not. I don't really have a problem with the
So
people.
my
I don't have a
point
problem
about
with the.
that was learning about, like, this island that is so far away, but they have problems. Like one of the islands is really close to shipping routes now, and that has really affected their ability to fish because the sea is going dead around those areas, and it's contributing to like pollution and stuff. So that would be part of deciding location. Is like it's not just about like, was there storms there? Like, yes, that's a big part, but like also where are the shipping lines that go through? Because we need, even if you're starting those like man-made reefs underneath, which is very cool.
Well,
the
it's
water
not. It's not
quality-
just about the seafood, though. I mean, I understand that's the best source of protein, but
Well,
there's many societies that live on just plant-based only, and you could grow vertical gardening year-round, forever, as long as you have some sort of energy and you get new soil that you can kind of sprinkle on top of there every like. I think it's like 8 to 10 years. You kind of mix it up, or you let the plant die, and the nutrients get back into the soil. You could go year round, so you don't have to worry about pollution in the skies and shit. I mean, unless it goes full matrix and there's just a black cloud everywhere and we don't get any solar power and you don't get sunlight and everyone's cold and we have to move close to the core of the earth to stay warm. I don't think that's going to happen. And if that does, we got bigger problems.
Is this just the recreation of that one movie where they all have to sit on the train?
Oh yeah, Snowpiercer. Yeah, we're
Oh,
gonna make a
yes.
Snowpiercer route around the
It's exactly what it is. Actually.
bugs to stay. That's something we can do. Cricket powder. Look up crickets on
Crickets
their
are
own time.
Crickets
I
with a little bit of garlic powder on them.
Well, no, like they have like cricket farms, and they're getting there's a bunch of like not startups. Well, they are startups, but they're getting like a bunch of like Series A funding, Series B funding of like these big mega factory of cricket farms, and they take up less space than traditional crops. They create more protein per square cricket. No, I'm kidding. But like they're a big thing, and they're going to eat all the crops if they ever get loose, and they'll probably cause the death of us. But really cool, small space. As long as people get over the fact that they're eating a bunch of Snowpiercer bug meat, it'll be fine.
You just have to wait until the first generation dies.
Of people, until they forget, they don't know that they're
Yes.
eating the bugs.
And
Yes.
that's the other thing. Oscar
From
was
1984. You just need to know about it.
Oscar was discussing how like there would have to be no Instagram or Twitter or anything
Yep.
like that. Finding people that would be willing to do so, or convincing someone to do so that has already had it, unless they are already of that opinion,
Exactly.
that is really hard to do.
Yeah, because think about it. Like, I mean, if you want like really smart, intuitive people that are there, like those smart, intuitive people, they might already have really good jobs. How do you get someone to sacrifice their well-paying job? Maybe they're able to afford like some luxuries in life to then replace that for, bug farms and all that stuff.
I've got some questions on this, and the main thing that's going to be is whether you think my idea is ethical or not. And there's a couple of these that I'm going to go on, but I need to get to a couple other things first.
Is that the age-old Star Trek, like for the betterment of humanity, like sacrifice the one and all that stuff?
No. I mean, it's like I'm not going to get there.
Darn red
but
shirts.
Just to briefly jump into it, like people from the third world might not have access to those things. They might have WhatsApp, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. So shipping people.
They don't. Yeah, well, not shipping
people.
They want to get a better life. Elon Musk is from South Africa. He didn't want to be there. He wanted a better life. He went to America.
True.
Look at all the great
refugees. There's a lot of
people want to go and have
Africa.
a better life. They'd rather not die. They'd rather not have to be in these.
Isn't there a colony? Isn't there a colony in South Africa?
There's a no-go zone in South Africa.
Yeah, what's it called?
I don't know.
There's a few
no-go. Yeah, never mind.
It's just the whole District 9 shit. Yeah, but I mean, like, there's an actual like upscale one.
If you look at South Africa itself, there are actually some buildings that they have. Not only do they have like the fences with the barbed wire and everything else around them, they have like sky tunnels, because that is how crazy it is for you to step outside. That
sky tunnels?
Yeah, they have like connecting bridges.
Oh wow! Because going into the streets is that bad?
So it's so like much of a you're an idiot if you do it type thing.
I mean, I know like the last like 6 months has gotten way worse. That's all I know about it though.
There was a lot of between all the different warlords that you had fighting throughout the entire expanse of Africa.
Still.
Yeah, to this day, still.
It'll never stop.
There are certain, like, oh God, as much as I hate to say this, because as a content creator, I am not a fan of them. Vice put out a few decent documentaries on some of the African warlords and how
I watched probably every single one of them,
and how it led to a lot of the destabilization of
the kids, kids in wars, the kidnapping, a lot of the moving, the oil spills, all of it.
Kicking out Indians, because initially when England had brought in Indian workers after they had colonized India, and they brought Indian workers over, the Indian workers were like, well, we don't want to fucking go back. We're already here. We already built all this shit. So they had a lot of the economy, and one of the dictators came in and was like, you're the problem. And then
made it a racial issue. They assumed a lot of their wealth, but then the people that took over those businesses couldn't run them because they didn't have the skill sets. They didn't know how they did certain things with silk and food and all these other things, because it was such an immediate grab of power that they made the recession even worse.
So
shitty.
Crazy thoughts.
All right. Next. So where's Brooke?
She's checking on the children's.
Okay.
I'm gonna go check on her real quick just to make sure that she beat the children in submission. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Sure. Oh
yeah, we could take a break. Since we're on break, what's that? He always talks about South Africa and one of their I don't know if it's not a no-go zone. It's more like they have their own like town and stuff. I think they have their own currency and all that stuff. I forget what it's called.
I don't know. All I know is that in the last year, that coup, or not, I don't even know what it was. I just know that there was such bad rioting, and then there was a bunch of no-go zones stood up because all the rich people have their own private security, because the police in South Africa is really bad. So they've kind of privatized the police force.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the rich people have their own polices around their
areas. But that was before the last 2 years.
It's like the middle class poor white people that had to set up their own no-go zone just because they were so fearful that shit was going to go down.
Yep.
Because a lot of people still have the apartheid mindset, and they're like, them and let's take their wealth. I don't know, or the other way around, or they're the cause of our problems, or they don't like me, so I'm going to hurt them. It could be anything.
I think you just mentioned both sides of the argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess now we're seeing what the results of getting rid of that was, right?
Getting rid of apartheid. It's like prison. It's like everybody instinctually breaks off into these racial groups, and anyone that tries to break those racial groups gets beat up because you can't trust people, and the only thing that you can trust is the color of their skin, because you're like, you can't change this. You can't change this. Like I saw so many episodes of 60 Days In, and I'm just like disgusted. And like as a society, it's like
60 Days In. What's that?
Oh, it's a show where they send in non-prisoner informants to jails to see how they're run, to see if the cops are corrupt, to see how the drugs are getting in. You should check it out. There's a couple seasons on Netflix. It's 60 Days In. So they send in just random people. They'll send in like some girl that looks like a chola. They'll send in some like random fat guy. Cool. They'll send in some guy that looks kind of rugged, some random fat boy, and then they'll go in there and they'll pretend that they're prisoners. Are like, I punched a kid or something. but their whole job is to make sure that the people that are running the prisons aren't beating up the people, or they're being fair. They're listening to complaints. They're not letting abuses go on. Sometimes they have missions to make sure, see how drugs are getting in, because I know drugs are getting in. Everyone's addicted to meth, and they're like, how does it keep getting in? Well, they keep spraying the box it's in with perfume, and then the dogs go, this is fine, or they just let it go, or the cops don't care enough, something like that. Yeah, really good show. I highly recommend it. I got addicted.
Watch it.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, human beings, they just break into these like racial groups when they're the dumbest. It's like we can't. Yeah, it's really sad.
Well, always talks about it makes a lot of sense too. Like there's not much racism in Mexico, and it's because the Spanish basically all of the native women. Yeah. Well, not everyone, but a good amount, and they all had kids and they mixed and all this stuff, you know.
Well, and also the native population was squashed. Like I'm not by violence per se. Some, I want to say like 5% by violence. The other 90% disease.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
I've read a lot of things where they talked about all these major civilizations that existed in South America and Central America, and all these mounds in Missouri, all over the place. Like there's huge civilizations that existed in the American hemisphere.
That would be another way to like non-violently, like not take over, but like assimilate everybody in the country, which is basically like you come in there with like superior, not quote unquote
genes.
Superior. No, I wasn't gonna say that. Superior technology, superior technology. So you have like sewers, you have like better food growth, etc. And you basically just outbreed them, or not even outbreed them. It's more like you just have more people, and then just like eventually everybody has sex with everybody, and boom, you're one ethnic group. You know, like there's no more splits or whatever. You know,
I've been really into early American civilizations and reading a lot of not ancient alien stuff, but the stuff that people think are ancient aliens.
Oh,
where there was like a huge society, and then like, where did it go? Were they Atlanteans? They were visited by a random red-haired
man. Why did they
man.
disappear? Yeah, it was the Mayans, right?
Shit like that. But it's not even before the Mayans. Way before the Mayans. Like back before. Okay, so like the Atlantis times was like 12,000 BC. And this is well documented, not well documented. This is what the Greek philosophers were saying. 12,000 BC, there was all these records that something existed. They had this technology. We lost a lot of stuff in the Library of Alexandria. Whatever, it's fine. But I know. But there is huge evidence of a huge comet or meteorite that went close to the Earth, called the something Dryers. Dryers Comet. And they think it like skimmed the top of the planet, and it kind of fucked everything up, and they think that's what caused Atlantis to collapse. But by then, at that time, there were already people in America all over the place. There's mounds in Missouri, Indiana, Connecticut, Illinois, everywhere. Like huge things that look like temples. Like you think Sumeria, like all that other, and like all the, one thing that the ancient aliens people say all the time is, how come all the pyramids look the same? Were they all talking about the same people? were they all communicating somehow? Who told them to do this? It's because of society, way before the people went to North America, saw that. They all come from the same civilization where there were pyramids. That's how they used to do it. Or it's just the most easiest thing to build, whatever. But
the most structurally sound.
Yeah, and they found that the Native Americans share more common genes with people in Russia than they do anywhere else. And you're like, or people in China. And you're like, why is that? I don't know. That's strange.
Well, and in China, there's actually a lot of mounds as well that have been like kind of covered up. Very similar in structure to like Mayan temples and things of that nature.
Yep, I've seen that. They grew trees and they covered it up. And they're like, they don't want anyone to know. So sketchy. But the reason I brought it up is because the first explorers, there was a couple that went up the Amazonian River and a couple in Mexico. They documented huge civilizations. We're talking tens to hundreds of thousands of people. They counted, they described it, they described how big it is. But 10 years later, when the next people came in that finally set up colonies and they sent their documents back to the home country, they said they were totally wrong. The civilization's like 1,000 people, maybe. Like all we see are ruins. There's nothing here. There aren't a lot of people everywhere. And then they said this is around the entire of America. It's because those explorers got everyone sick and they all died. Those people did exist 10 years prior, allegedly. You know, both truths can be accurate. And that's kind of what happened. They all just gone. And then so when all the Spanish came, the Portuguese came, English, French, whatever, there was just so little Native Americans that it was easy just to have the same population as them. There was no minority, majority, or you just keep throwing more people in that there is no racism because you are one race.
Exactly.
You don't make a big deal about we need to stay separate because one side's dirty. No, you just start, you know.
The answer to everything.
All of life's problems.
Just okay. All right, we're back. Woo! Time to channel my inner historian now. Oh yes. That doesn't sound right. Hello. All right, I'm ready. So I got your guys' opinion on Seasteads. Now I want to show you a couple pictures and get your opinion on an alternative to that. In 2001, Dubai started the creation of artificial islands, or what you could call land reclamation projects. In just 5 to 6 years, they used newfound technology and techniques to make the first ever large-scale island using only raw natural materials of rock and sand, not the traditional steel and concrete. To achieve this, they had tons of ships just pumping sand and used rocks to make a wave break around the whole thing to keep it intact and calm. They also used giant machines that vibrate the sand to make the ground more compact, a process usually done by nature over anywhere from 10 to 100 years so that it does not give later. Anyway, because they were able to save money by using their own local sand and local rock from their own nearby mountains, an island of this magnitude provided 11,000 people oceanfront property and only cost the government $12 billion.
What the fuck?
Sounds way too expensive, but being the pioneer of something new has inflated costs. For those that are listening, if you want to see for yourself, just Google Dubai Palm Island. It is really super impressive.
So obviously that $12 billion seemed a little bit high, just a little bit. But in theory, man-made islands, how do you feel?
If your question is not about cost, then it seems like a really good option.
Okay. Because we could move a seastead, but seasteads only last about 50 years. The concrete, before it has to be replaced somehow.
I mean, it seems like it would be a more sustainable option, thus probably the cost. You know, it's definitely a more permanent type of thing.
But then you come back to where are you building it off of, or are you saying that you can just build, because you can't, what are you going to do, build it in the middle of the ocean?
Could, as long as it's not deep. As
Well, not over Mariana's Trench, got it.
No. Well, on buoys, I don't even know. Move it.
You
Oh
could
God.
stand for it,
The
but on
buoy.
top of the seastead.
Again, I feel like it's
One
one of those
swordfish
things where
terrorist comes in and just pops us all.
for this one, clearly the technology is already
Atlantis.
available. However, that cost differential.
And where are you building it off? Like finding a space for that would be harder than finding a space for a seastead.
I know this isn't this is a controversial opinion, but how would you guys feel about building it in the South China Sea? I hear it's really nice.
What's a bad choice?
Didn't we
Doesn't seem like a sustainable.
discuss this earlier?
You're right.
I mean, on the one hand, you have a communist dictatorship that would gladly put its people like into that island.
And they join us for a while before they overthrow us.
But before they're like, yeah, you're done now.
They force us to use TikTok. We can't just abandon all social medias.
So better option for permanence for sure, but not necessarily better option overall, because it would then depend on, okay, well, what's the price to replace, whatever concrete or necessary materials for the seastead? Does that cost outweigh in the like entirety of the term? Because at that point, I feel like it would still be better to start off with a seastead until that technology is more refined. You know what I mean?
They have bigger vibrators that can push that sand down.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I think that would be the seastead still seems like a better initial option.
Okay. So if money was no object, like let's say you're a Gates, you're a Musk, you're one of the others, and you're like, I'm gonna liquidate everything and I'm just gonna GTFO instead of just buying a country, if that was even an option, or build an apocalypse train, whatever, where would you place your island? Anywhere in the world. Just think about it. A little fun experiment here.
Where's
Off of Madagascar.
Off of Madagascar.
Yep.
Oh,
You're not worried about Somalian pirates?
They're fine. Hi, sweet pea.
I'd probably do it in between South America and South Africa.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, because that's actually a lot lower. That's not in the volcano fire or in the earthquake territory.
Yep.
And hurricanes are, yeah.
So far away from China.
Shit, that was better than my answer.
What's your answer?
I was gonna say buddies with Iceland. Something else up there.
That's actually not a bad area either, I don't think.
I like your area, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still be away from like all these
Southern hemisphere though, the summers are winters, winters are summers though. I don't know. That'd take a lot of relearning. We'd have to switch to Celsius instead. People would yell at us.
It's our island, so.
Okay. You're right.
I think whatever you pick though, you would have to find a way to have people want to live there.
Should we call it Falklands Junior? The Falklands Junior? No.
Falklands?
Those are the islands off the coast of Argentina that they tried to invade, but the British came in there all Bridget Jones. I will sink your shit. And
well, I think Argentina's going bankrupt, right? So
aren't they all?
Yeah.
Are you also going bankrupt, Brooke? Is that why you're raising your hand?
We've run out of time. The kids are getting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry that you guys had to sit through all of that. Thanks for sticking it out.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Maybe we'll
Remember
see you
to
next time. Remember to like and subscribe.
Oh my God. It's
Is that
so
loud enough?
That's aggressive. That's so
Remember
aggressive.
to like and subscribe.
Oh, my cheeks are hurting.
Like and subscribe yet, you
Do it
idiot.
now.
Hey, I have
Wow.
kids to
My
pay
cheeks
for.
hurt 'cause I'm laughing
Can you
so
like
hard.
and subscribe? Thanks.
So aggressive.
That's what Bree was saying, that I needed to take a class in how to speak less confrontational.